So it was, my dear Watson. There, at 2 o'clock today, I found myself in my old armchair, in my own old room, and only wishing that I could have seen my old friend Watson in the other chair, which he has so often adorned. Such was the remarkable narrative to which I listened on that April evening, a narrative which would have been utterly incredible to me had it not been confirmed by the actual sight of the tall, spare figure and the lean, eager face which I had never thought to see again. In some manner, he had learned of my own sad bereavement, and his sympathy was shown in his manner rather than in his words. "Work is the best antidote to sorrow, my dear Watson," said he, "and I have a piece of work for us both tonight, which, if we can bring it to a successful conclusion, will it itself justify a man's life on this planet." In vain I begged him to tell me more. "You will hear and see enough before morning," he answered. "We have 3 years of the past to discuss. Let that suffice until 9:30, when we start upon the notable adventure of the empty house." It was indeed like old times when at that hour I found myself seated beside him in a hansom, my revolver in my pocket, and the thrill of adventure in my heart. Holmes was cold and stern and silent. As the gleam of the street lamp flashed upon his austere figure, I saw that his brows were drawn down in thought and his thin lips compressed. I knew not what wild beast we were about to hunt down in the dark of criminal London, but I was well assured from the bearing of this master huntsman that the adventure was a most grave one, while the sardonic smile which occasionally broke through his eccentric gloom boded little good for the object of our quest. I had imagined that we were bound for Baker Street, but Holmes stopped the cab at the corner of Cavendish Square. I observed that as he stepped out, he gave a most searching glance to right and left, and at every subsequent street corner he took the utmost pains to assure that he was not followed. Our route was certainly a singular one. Holmes' knowledge of the bypasses of London was extraordinary, and on his occasion he passed rapidly and with an assured step through a network of mews and stables, the very existence of which I had never known. We merged at last into a small road lined with old gloomy houses, which led us into Manchester Street and so to Blandmore Street. Here he turned swiftly down a narrow passage, passed through a gold wooden gate into a deserted yard, then opened with a key the back door of a house we entered together, and he closed it behind us. The place was pitch dark, but it was evident to me that it was an empty house. Our feet creaked and crackled over the bare planking, and my outstretched hand touched a wall from which the paper was hanging in ribbons. Holmes' cold, thin finger closed round my wrist and led me forward down a long hall until I dimly saw the murky fanlight over the door. Here Holmes turned suddenly to the right, and we found ourselves in a large, square, empty room, heavily shadowed in the corners but faintly lit in the central from the lights of the street beyond. There was no lamp near, and the windows were thick with dust, so that we could only just discern each other's figures within. My companion put his hand upon my shoulder and his lip close to my ear. "You know where we are?" he whispered. "Surely that is Baker Street," I answered, staring through the dim window. "Exactly. We are in Cadham House, which stands opposite to our own old quarters." "But why are we here?" "Because it commands so excellent a view of the pictures pile. Might I trouble you, my dear Watson, to draw a little nearer to the window, taking every precaution not to show yourself, then to look up at our old rooms, the starting point of so many of your little fairy tale? We will see if my 3 years of absence have entirely taken away my power to surprise you." I crept forward and looked across at the familiar window. As my eyes fell upon it, I gave a gasp and a cry of amazement. The blind was down and a strong light was burning in the room. The shadow of a man who was seated in a chair within was thrown in hard, black outline upon the luminous screen of the window. There was no mistake. The poise of the head, the squareness of the shoulder, the sharpness of the features. The face was turned half round, and the effect was that of one of those black silhouettes which our grandparents loved to frame. It was a perfect reproduction of Holmes. So amazed was I that I threw out my hand to make sure that the man himself was standing beside me. He was quivering with silent laughter. "Well," said he. "Good heavens," I cried, "it is marvelous. I trust that age doth not wither nor custom stale my infinite variety," said he, and I recognized in his voice the joy and pride which the artist takes in his own creation. "It really is neither like me, is it not? I should be prepared to swear that it was you." To be continued. So it was, my dear Watson.